Today we're gonna make oven ribs with the best homemade barbecue sauce. This is a super easy recipe for when you don't wanna use the grill. Here are the ingredients. Let's make it right now. All right, so I always like to go over the ingredients. It's just simple to do it this way. You know exactly what you're getting into. I have 2 racks of ribs right here. These are baby back ribs. It's roughly 4 pounds of ribs. This might be like closer to 5 pounds, but typically a rack will run you about 2 pounds, maybe a little bit more. We're gonna do a simple rub for this, and I mean really simple. This is just 4 teaspoons of Diamond Crystal Kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of onion, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, okay? 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and then 2 teaspoons of paprika. That's all I'm doing, and you can go even simpler and just do salt and pepper if you like. And the reason that you can just go simple is because we're gonna make the most delicious barbecue sauce. And for the barbecue sauce, I have 1.5 cups of ketchup. That's just Heinz ketchup. I have 1 3/4 cups of white vinegar. This is just distilled white vinegar. You know that big jug that's always in the supermarket, like on the lower, like all the way at the bottom shelf? That's the vinegar I'm using, and we use it in so many recipes, all of our deli recipes. I have 1.5 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I have 1.5 teaspoons of Diamond Crystal Kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and I have 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Go easy on the cayenne, be careful on the cayenne. Not all cayenne is built the same. You know, if you go to a spice place, go to like Penzeys or all the other spice manufacturers that sell online, they will often have a 30,000 Scoville, a 60,000, and a 90,000 Scoville cayenne. So, you know, depending on which one you have, it could be way spicier. So that's why just start with a little bit, work your way up. I have 3/4 cup of light brown sugar, but dark brown sugar is fine as well. And that's a 3/4 packed cup, okay? And then I also have a 1/4 cup of honey. All this together is going to duplicate my favorite barbecue sauce that I'll show you in a sec. Right away, just set your oven to 250 degrees Fahrenheit and just get enough room in the middle. Just set the rack in the middle. I have one of these here, okay? This is just a large baking sheet that's essentially has high walls, all right? So it's a half sheet that has high walls. These are great. I have multiples of them, so I have one over here. And if you don't have one of these, just use a regular half sheet, but just line it with foil. So it might prevent us from making any mess, which will be great. That's where we're gonna put the ribs in when they cook in the oven. Now, I am gonna put the rub on now. I do recommend that you when you put the rub on, like the written recipe says overnight. I just, you know, I'm not gonna prep multiple racks of ribs here. So it will be fine doing it now, but it'll be even better if you put the rub on overnight. Let's prep some ribs. You know, often they'll come in a cryovac unless you have like a good butcher. They'll be like in a solution. I just take them out, I dry them off really well. And then, you know, you can get really like barbecue bro-ish here. Like you can trim them up, like try to square them up so they like look all the same. You can try to like equalize the fat level. But depending on what you buy, normally they'll be pretty good. And these are well trimmed already, all right? These are good. So we can remove the membrane. Tara, do you know why you remove the membrane?
Because it'll be easier to cut them when they're cooked.
It's easier to cut them, but from what I've read online, they're like, it can penetrate, the rub can penetrate better. And a lot of people don't like that texture on the back of it.
That makes sense.
Now, when I was young as a kid, nobody ever removed the membrane. But I'm a New Yorker, I'm a Yankee, so, you know, it's like, this removing membrane has been introduced from barbecue people. I actually heard that people in, like, the Asian countries and stuff, they love the membrane, so they will never remove the membrane. But I'm gonna show you how to remove the membrane very easily. So it's just like, I take a butter knife here, okay? And then I just get in there. Now, the easiest way to pull it after you get enough of it, I find, is just to take a paper towel.
So removing the membrane is like a thing of the American South? Is that accurate?
I think so. That's what I read online, but you know, you can't trust anything online anymore now. Like
That's true.
Like the Google AI overviews.
The AI overview told you that?
They are absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
They tell you everything wrong all the time. Like it's absolutely ridiculous. Got to get in there and get your paper towel. And I'm not getting a clean pull on this one. Sometimes I do. There we go. And there's one membrane off. You can go through here, you can check if you missed any spots, but that's pretty good. All right, so we can turn it over here. You can get rid of some, like any loose, like overhanging stuff like this if you want. You don't have to. I got a rack the other day that had a ton more meat and no more bones. So that would be, you know, maybe a chance to do it. But this is all nice pork here. Some of them will have a ton more fat on top here, but this is, you know, this is well trimmed already. Take a little bit off here. if you want, but you really don't have to. All right, we'll do the other one. And again, you don't have to remove the membrane if you don't want to. I don't normally do this. Normally you'll see me take like a big plastic cutting board out because it's easier just to throw in your dishwasher. But when I'm working with ribs or any really big piece of meat, I don't really have a plastic cutting board that's large enough and it won't fit in my dishwasher. So this one, you don't want to rinse. This is an end grain cutting board. You don't want to put this in your dishwasher, obviously. You can give it a little rinse in your sink, but then you really want to dry it off again. If you gets too soaked, it's just going to start warping. All right, so what I did was I just did soap and water here, like with a sponge, so not too much soap. Then I just wet it a few times, okay, to get most of that soapiness out. And then I just have vinegar and water here, okay? So the ratio, and I write it on the bottle, is 2 to 1 water to vinegar, okay? And that's 5% vinegar that I'm using. It's the same vinegar that I'm using to make the barbecue sauce. So that vinegar, it pulls lots of duty. It doesn't just make food, it makes cleaning solutions.
Seems like you're doing a commercial for Big Vinegar.
Yeah, I'm a big vinegar guy, you know, they're checks in the mail, right? Okay, so we have the rub right here. These are the rub ingredients. Just so you know, again, we're doing 4 teaspoons of Diamond Crystal Kosher salt, 1 tablespoon, so that's 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon. Okay, so that's roughly 13 grams, 14 grams-ish. Right here on the ribs, I have 1,800 grams. So if I want a 1% of that, I would need 18 grams of salt. So this is a little bit less than 1%. And the reason I'm doing that is just because there's a ton of other flavor going on here with our other spices and our barbecue sauce. If you want to up this more and you wanted to even take it to a 1.5%, you would need to use about 8 teaspoons of Diamond Crystal. Make sure it's Diamond Crystal. If you're using another salt, a fine salt, you got to weigh that, all right? It's going to be less volume. So again, 4 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. So I put it all in there together. Just combine it. We're gonna put the rub on. Now, look, a lot of videos you'll see, they'll just do mustard. You can do mustard. The recipe, I don't even have the mustard. If you wanna put mustard, just put a little bit on it. Supposedly, it's like a binder and makes the seasoning stick more. The seasoning's not gonna go anywhere. It's not gonna fall off, all right? But, you know, you can put a little bit if you want.
Are you doing that?
I'm gonna do it on one of them, all right? Maybe we'll just, actually, I'll do it on both, whatever. That's it, that's all I need. All right, I'm gonna break out the bro gloves. There is no barbecue without bro gloves. You cannot, you can't make barbecue unless you have these gloves on.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, I know, but honestly, a lot of people will watch, like, you know, when you're a beginning cook, you wanna do everything what the person is doing.
Yeah.
I was like that.
Yeah.
35 years ago, no, even longer than that. Trying to figure out how old I am, right? All right, I don't need to put as much on the back side as the front side. And what's nice about doing this in a pan here, anything that, you know, spills over, we'll get it all to coat. Like we can just move the ribs around so we don't lose any of it. Now this measurement here is exact. If you use any more than this, it's not gonna be as good. If you use any less than this, it won't be as good either. And if you hate my sarcasm and you're watching this right now and you're like, I hate this guy so much, that is the point, okay? That is the intention. No, I'm kidding. But I'm trying to make light of it here because the only thing you got to watch out for is salt. If you do too much salt, you'll ruin your dish.
I do think your sarcasm is often lost, and I think it's because not everybody realizes that if you grow up in New York, specifically the part of New York where we did on Long Island, everybody is sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's just part of our humor. It's part of who we are.
Yeah, when I spent 3 years in Minnesota, that was not good. My sarcasm did not hit anybody.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it gets lost. It's a cultural thing.
I think the whole thing is don't take yourself too seriously. You know, like, that's the thing. Like this isn't a chef channel here. We're not chefs. We didn't go to culinary school for 2 years and then call ourselves a chef either, okay? I actually think a lot of the stuff is lost on chefs that have spent too much time. They take for granted that, the audience is a home cook. And, like, you're supposed to just not have, like, all the equipment that a restaurant has. Okay, so we're gonna wrap these, each one individually in foil. And again, I wanna point out, the mustard, you don't have to do that. On the regular print recipe, it's not. I try to make recipes as simple as possible without sacrificing any flavor. This is it, just like this. Just like this, just like this. I have the fat, like the meat side up here, so when I put them down, they'll be fine. But I'm telling you, I've done it both ways, and it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm just going like this, and I'm turning the foil upwards. So hopefully, between this and that, we won't get any leakage. Just like this, just like that, just like that. Now, ideally, put these in the fridge for a couple hours, if even better overnight, okay? The seasoning, the salt especially, is gonna penetrate much better. Again, we're going right in the oven right now, and they're still gonna be great. We're gonna do 250 degrees for 2 to 2.5 hours. Depending on how large your ribs are, you know, it might even be 3, but I'm telling you, if they're kind of like not so meaty, they're gonna be falling apart even at the 2-hour mark. And I'm telling you, 250, not 350, all right? 250, that's all you need to do, all right? We're gonna check at the 2-hour mark. All right, so we're gonna make an easy barbecue sauce. Right away, I just wanna show you what I'm trying to duplicate here is this one, open pit, all right? Now, open pit isn't really available too much in supermarkets. It's not in Costco, it's not in like a lot of like the bigger places. This is pretty much the sauce that's used in almost every deli. If you watch this channel, you know I worked in a bunch of delis. Every deli used it. Every deli. Like, every deli uses it, okay? There are, of course, now things might have changed and there's other ones that they're using. Now, I always love the tanginess of this one. It's very different than some other popular ones. But what I don't want is all this stuff in there. Hydrolyzed corn protein, hydrolyzed soy protein. We don't need any of that stuff. High fructose corn syrup, we're not gonna use that. Listen, this isn't a health channel, okay? So, so let's get that out of the way. But we're gonna try to make this a little bit better. So we have 1 3/4 cup of white vinegar. Okay, I'm just gonna turn my heat up to medium, maybe a little bit more than medium. Ketchup's going in, okay, that is 1.5 cups of ketchup. Now, you're almost better like with this stuff kind of weighing it because it's hard to get everything out of here, but you don't have to be super exact either. 1.5 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce I say different every single time. 1/4 cup of honey. 3/4 cup of packed brown sugar. That's light, but you can use dark. And then 1 teaspoon black pepper, 1.5 teaspoons Diamond Crystal Kosher salt, and just 1/8 of a teaspoon of that cayenne. And we're gonna let this come to a boil, like, you know, a little bit, maybe decent simmer. Okay, and I'm just using a little bit of a whisk just to break up any of that sugar, make sure everything's distributed. It's about to start bubbling. Okay, so it's bubbling nicely. If it gets too high, if it starts like sizzling too much, just lower your heat. Okay, it's like bubbling, coming up. Also, one thing I didn't say, make sure you're using a pot that's high enough. Don't just like, if you have no room in your pot, it will not be good. All right, I'm gonna lower it. So I just wanted to go a little bit, just a very low simmer here. Yeah, so just like tiny bubbles now. I hope you can see that. And then we'll just let it cook for about 5-10 minutes to thicken it a little bit. This isn't as thick as that bottle open pit. It's not gonna be as thick as some of the other sauces you're used to, but it doesn't need to be thick. That's been a few minutes. I'm gonna show you the consistency of it, and if you wanna thicken it, just use cornstarch, all right? I'll probably, you know what, should I thicken it, is James the taste tester gonna want it maybe a little thicker?
Maybe.
This is really simple to do. It's not gonna affect the flavor at all, but start with a little bit, build yourself up if you want. I'll show you the consistency right now. And this will thicken when it cools, but right now it's kind of like a little soupy there. So I just have like maybe 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, and I have about 1 ounce of water, okay, or 30 milliliters. Okay, just pour that in. And if that's not enough, we can just do it again. Okay, just gotta make sure it's bubbling a little bit, so I might have to raise the heat a little bit. That activates the cornstarch. Yeah, that's how it is now. Yeah, you know what? I probably would go even thicker than that. You know what? It's gonna thicken when it cools, though. This made the other day, and without the cornstarch, and it did thicken a decent amount. In fact, I have another batch of it in the fridge. This is with 0 cornstarch from the other day. You can see how much thicker that is when it cools with no cornstarch. So I suspect that maybe 1.5 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons we put in here, once it cools, is gonna be enough. I don't want it to be super thick, right? What do you think, Tara?
I think that's pretty thick without the cornstarch.
That's without cornstarch,
yeah. I think I wouldn't add any more.
Okay, so we're set here. That's it. Oh, and by the way, this is from a week ago. This sauce is gonna last for a long time. It's vinegar. It's a vinegar-based sauce. So, you know, we're making a lot of this here today, more than you need for the ribs. You just keep it. Do barbecue chicken. And it's spicy still, even with that 1/8. So we're not doing any more. It's delicious. It just needs to cool. And we have time to cool because we're waiting for the ribs. I think it makes a little bit more than 2 cups, so I just have a 4-cup jar right here. Measuring cup, I mean. Yeah, this is a lot more, actually. It's like over 3 cups. Well, we're gonna find out how much it thickens after it cools. Okay, so it's been 2 hours. Let's check these ribs for tenderness. They were roughly the same size. You could check both of them, but normally it'll be all right to just check one. If they were very different, like if one was much larger, much thicker, check that one. It's like a lot of steam is gonna come out of here right as we do it. So you can see them, like the meat, the bones are not exposed yet at all. So normally that'll be a good sign. So we'll just check though, okay? And I'm going like this, and we can definitely do these for another 30 minutes, maybe even another 45 minutes. So let's wrap them up again, get them exactly how they were so they'll like steam and cook quicker in the oven, okay? The reason I checked at the 2-hour point now is when I made them the other day, because I always do recipes first, like for the written recipes, I always do them fully tested before I make a video for you, okay? I never want to be anything but exact. So at the 2.5-hour mark the other day, they were super tender. You know, bones were exposed. They might have been 2 falling apart. So that's why I'm like, all right, I'm gonna check now at the 2-hour mark. But these are definitely not done. They might even take a little bit more than 2 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, back into the oven. Okay, so 2 hours and 45 minutes roughly now. See if that did the trick. It's really gonna just matter. First of all, it's gonna matter how tender you want them. If I keep cooking these for another hour, they're gonna be full off the bone where I can literally pull a bone out from each of them. You might like that. You know, you might want them to keep their integrity. This is gonna be up to you. I kind of like the rib to have a little bit of integrity, even with an oven one that is always a super tender rib. Okay, you can just kind of start grabbing the rack. If it's very loose to the point where it can almost just come apart, go where the meat is, okay? The meat right here. Now, if you can just kind of pull the meat away, that's okay. This rack could probably go a little bit longer. The thicker part here is gonna be less tender than over here. So, yeah, so like right here, you can see how it's like flaking again pretty easily. Like I can pull the meat right out of it. All right, that's that rack. Do the other one, okay, same thing. Oh, these are more tender. So this rack's more tender than the other one by a lot. So yeah, this one will want to have a tendency to fall apart. Okay, so this is 2 hours and 45 minutes. You can see how you get a little bit different depending on the rack, you know, whatever, the texture of the pork itself. But they're both going to be fine, and we're ready to go here. So now there's a ton of liquid in these, okay? That's liquidized, that's water and fat, okay? Fat that is liquefied. Just want to show you how much comes out of it. Now you can also just take these and kind of bundle them up and then throw them out, which is a simple thing to do. Whoop. A little bit of a mess. Tried not to. You can take paper towels and just dry this off, all the liquid that was in this pan. I probably have a hole in here. Probably didn't get a perfectly clean pan, but I always like to line it with foil. Sometimes it works out. If you know your pan's already messed up, you can just grab another pan if you want, like a regular sheet pan. But I'll use the same one. Now, also here, I just want to pat these dry. Okay, you don't have to go super dry, but we're gonna broil them now. So I turned on my broiler, set your rack to second highest level, all right? Just so you have a little bit of leeway. You're gonna have to watch these though, and we're gonna glaze these ribs up, and we're going to just get a perfect look to them. Now, I just wanna go over a couple things right now. At this point, you can stop here. You can let these sit for hours. You can put them in the fridge. You can even put them in the fridge till tomorrow. You can go light up some coal outside, okay? Go to your charcoal grill if you have one. Get a little bit, you know, a little bit of wood chips, oak, apple wood, whatever, soak them in water, put them on there, okay? And then you can just add some smoke to these. You can do this secondhand at the end, all right? It's really quick. Or forget the smoke and just still put them on the grill, glaze them up with barbecue sauce outside. It's a simple way to do it where you're doing it ahead of time, which this is how all restaurants here, you know, here in New York do them. So what I did was I cut one of the racks in half, okay, like that. We're gonna do half of my open pit, my made open pit versus Sweet Baby Ray's. And we will see which one the taste tester likes. This is the one that I just made. Depending on how hot your broiler is, sometimes you can do two rounds of the sauce. but you just got to watch. And what I like to do, because inevitably I won't have even cooking even under my broiler. One rack will start like burning. I'll just take some foil and just shield it while the other one's cooking, which is real. It's just a simple thing you can do. Okay, so we'll do half with this one too. And I do both sides. So now this stuff is gonna be super thick compared to the one I made.
Are you going to be able to tell the difference? Like,
Are you serious? You don't think I'm gonna be able to tell the difference between those two? They're not even close. I mean, honestly, I'm getting a little worried here.
about what?
Well, this might beat mine out, but we're gonna have to see what the taste tester thinks. I'm not a big fan of it. It has too much, to me, smokiness to it.
I actually really like it.
Artificial smoke, I think, you know?
I don't like liquid smoke, and I do like Sweet Baby Ray's.
I mean, look, that's the thing. There's a barbecue sauce for everybody. In Alabama, they have
White,
They
right?
use white sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of people like the vinegary sauces. Those are very popular down south, you know?
That's North Carolina.
Carolina, like they're kind of liquidy, the
Yeah.
sauces.
And then Memphis is like no sauce.
Well, sauce on the side, right?
I know. When I was in Memphis and I got ribs, they were dry.
You can see we're experts here on this. About a minute or two per side. If you're lucky, you can get 2 flips. You can do a second coat of them. We'll see how they come. I'll show you how they look. So I probably spent like 2 or 3 minutes per side. You can see this is one. I just did one of the top, and then this is the other, the bone side. I like to just normally do the top. I want twice. The bone side could just be once. Okay, and then I'll be able to like really get the meat side as like charred as I want, but watch it really carefully so I don't ruin everything, okay? So you can reglaze if you want, or you don't have to. Just putting a little bit more on. All right, now you really gotta watch it on the last bit, but I always like to take it right to the level of like the charredness. If one starts getting darker, put a piece of foil over it to shield it. So listen, James does not know, he doesn't know what these sauces are. James, this is one set of sauce. This is the other set of sauce. These are a lot bigger. It's all from the same rack. This is just a smaller portion of the rack.
All right.
Okay, you got your water and I got you lots of paper towels.
Let's see which one I like better. I know which one I like more.
Okay.
I like a lot.
Okay, which one is it?
This one.
Huh? Nice.
Tell us what you like.
Yeah, tell why. Why?
It's more like tangy. I mean, I can tell it's open pit, which I love.
It's my homemade version.
It is.
Yeah, I made it from scratch.
Tastes like it. I don't know. Like, I still like this one a lot. Like Sweet Baby Ray's.
I do too.
Oh, so you know it's Sweet Baby Ray's?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We eat it all
we've
the
been
time.
using this for years.
Okay.
I mean, I use it on chicken most of the time, right? Not really on ribs.
Yeah. I just like open pit. Like, I think it's just like the better barbecue sauce, like for literally everything. Sandwiches.
Oh yeah, I love it on sandwiches.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna give this one like an 8 out of 10. It's still solid. I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. I think my favorite rib overall is like with a cherry Coca-Cola coating on it.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, that's a 10 out of 10. But these are solid. I think it was better the other night when you made them. It like fell off the bone like
Okay.
a lot more.
I want to address that. The reason I didn't do that today is I need, and I'm just being honest with you here, as you know, with all of you. I didn't want them to
photos.
fall apart now, so I could take
Yeah.
the thumbnail and the picture.
I think it would be like a 10 out of 10 probably if it was like that. But it's still very good. Like, don't get me wrong.
And another thing, just so you know, the other night it was 2.5 hours and they were fall off the bone at 250. Today was 2 hours and 45 minutes and they're not nearly as tender. So your time's going to vary depending on just where you bought the ribs from, you know, what brand, stuff like that. Your oven.
You should eat these with the tuna mac they made last video.
Tuna mac.
Nothing
the
can
best.
nothing can top the tuna mac. It's the best like thing ever.
Yeah, have the tuna mac
it's
with
so
it,
good.
or have the deli coleslaw, or any of those recipes. Thanks, James. We always appreciate you giving the honest opinion about it. And next time I'll do a cherry cola glaze for you.
That sounds so good.
Yeah, and why are you even mentioning that? I don't think I've ever made that for you.
You did when I was like younger.
Oh, when you were
I think
younger?
I was like 9 or 10. No, you made it for me when I was like 7 actually.
Was it in
In
Minnesota?
Minnesota. Yeah.
Jim, I think you actually have footage of that.
You got like the like
video.
red like brush the cherry cola on it.
You actually-
And I
You're
remember,
right.
yeah. No, actually, it was like a rubber brush. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
silicone.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
It's this is great.
All right. We'll see you next time.